And I was really hopeful when I heard Tom Homan was appointed there, moving out fresh blood. But what we're seeing is
I was so
more of the
hopeful
same,
that the other
that is not
we swapped out the manlet freak for
We need
Jabba
all
the
leaders.
Hutt. There's a CNN town hall with about ICE, by the way. We're going to be watching that right now. Jacob Fry is live on CNN. Hopefully they cook his ass a little bit. Hopefully they fry his ass a little bit.
Mayor, I want to introduce to you Sophia Karanakis. She is a law student here in Minneapolis at the University of Minnesota. Sophia, what's your question?
So what do you have to say to those who are arguably the majority, who feel that harsh words and public statements are not enough to address this crisis?
Yes!
I would say that they are exactly right. Words alone are not going to do anything. And that's why in the city of Minneapolis, we are taking clear action to change this. And the battlefield that we operate on is the battlefield of the law. We are right, legally. The actions that have taken place in our street are unconstitutional. You can't randomly yank off the street a person because they happen to look Somali or they happen to look Latino. You can't detain United States citizens, rip them away from their family, and they don't even know where they went.
Brother, you literally are responding with more words, okay? Like, the person is like, can you give us more commitments beyond words? And he's like, well, let me tell you, I got the best words.
Several days because
I got the best words. This is, for the record, why I was saying these guys are not meeting the fucking moment. And all these, like, stupid-ass liberals on the timeline were yelling at me over this. Being like, why are you yelling at the Democrats? I'm not. I'm offering a voice to the people of Minneapolis that also want their local administrators to do something.
Afraid to go outside, taking a watch at a daycare to make sure
Looking
that their
at the camera
friends, their
directly.
neighbors,
Oh,
our
hell
family,
yeah, dude.
We are a collective family, that they're safe. And if there's inspiration to take it from them. Take it from the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Minneapolitans and Minnesotans that are standing up saying, you know what, we are better united, we are better together. And that, if nothing else, has been ridiculously powerful. I've never been prouder to be from Minneapolis.
Mayor, one of those people, Alex Pretti, was out there taking video, and many things have been said about him by the administration. You heard words from Stephen Miller, you heard words from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, you heard from Commander Greg Bovino, all saying things about him, calling him a domestic terrorist, saying he was there to massacre police. Has anyone from the administration apologized to you or anyone in your administration or any officials here in Minnesota about what they initially said about Alex Pretti?
No. And look, Alex Pretti, we saw this from the video involving your dad, Mac, clearly a person that cares deeply about this country, that cares about other people beyond himself.
Let's be real. They're worried about starting a civil war. Brother, I hate this counter argument. You want to know why? Because there is already a war taking place. So the option here is to just roll over and die. What are you saying? Like, what do you mean?
I mean, it's indicative of him, but it's
the
also
goal here is to apply pressure to make it costly, to develop a response that will make it costly. Trump already is on the back foot. It already worked. And it worked in spite of these fucking idiots. It worked because the people rose up.
So that is what we're hearing from them now.
It's here already. People that say, oh, the response is a civil war. It's like, brother, it's over then. If there is no response whatsoever, and we don't actually make this a costly endeavor for the Trump administration, they're just going to do it over and over again. That's why when I went out there, I said Minneapolis is doing this not just for their own neighbors, but for the rest of the country.
Mayor Fry, what material commitments are you making to community members, our community members, who have been harmed, detained, or have had their loved ones brutalized? As the mayor of the city, what concrete actions will you and the city of Minneapolis take, such as providing financial support, coordinating resources, or pursuing legal action?
All of the above, providing financial support, coordinating legal resources, and of course pursuing action. These are actions that are underway, and we need to bolster them even further. So first, we are proactively and responsively suing based on the unconstitutional conduct that is happening in our streets. Second, We are working with a number of victims of these unconstitutional actions to try to hook them up with organizations where they can themselves have standing to sue. Third, we have a task force that is set up so that we've got communication channels that are in line so that we get through this most difficult of situations. And finally, look, our entire city enterprise has been operating over the last several weeks, if not months, to do everything possible that we can to keep our residents safe and to have an emergency response to what's presently taking place. And that includes things like having our community service officers deliver food. These are soon-to-be police officers deliver food for people that would otherwise be afraid to go out of their homes. This is everything that's happening through offices of immigrant and refugee affairs to make sure that they have legal supports in place if and when they need them. You know, and here's the other truth. Is it enough? And this is real. No. No, and I'm sorry. I never in a million years would I have imagined that this kind of thing would happen in America, that the Department of Justice would be weaponized against local people and elected officials, that we'd have this broad invasion of thousands of agents, not to keep people safe, but causing chaos in our street. And so I'm sorry to you, to your community, and to your soon-to-be profession as a lawyer.
We're going to take a short break. We'll have more questions from our audience. We'll hear more.
You've never been more alone in your life than at this very moment. We've never been more alone. As far as like demanding that our electeds do something, it's crazy. He should have listened to Omar Fateh. Yeah, Omar Fateh has floated some pretty ridiculous ideas for Minneapolis, but this one takes the cake. He's pledged to direct Minneapolis Police Department to arrest federal agents, a move that would put our entire community at risk. At last night's debate, Jacob Fry had a simple question. How?
How would our police officers do that? How would our police officers arrest federal agents when, simply put, they have much bigger guns and it would be illegal?
And that's part of it.
But we should actually dig in on the answer to this question, because this gets to the crux of the issues that we actually deal with. You committed to arresting federal agents. My simple question is how?
Yeah, well, if there's any federal agent that has a mask on, that should not be allowed in our city.
I agree with that, but how? How do you arrest them?
Well, we can work with our state partners, we can work with our attorney general, we can work with it cross-jurisdictionally, we can work as a city.
But specifically, how would you arrest them?
The reality is,
this would put our...
What do you mean? That's the job of the police, is to enforce the laws. Enforce the law? It's that simple. You go up and you tell them that they're under arrest for not abiding by the anti-mask initiatives. You ticket the shit out of them. You keep literally ticketing their cars. Cops love issuing tickets. You gum up the works any way you can. Tow their cars, man. Issue them tickets. Trespass them when they're trying to break and enter into the home of a Minneapolis resident. The f do you mean how? Anyway, this is back. Let's see what else they have to say.
Kicking their vehicle's taillight as the agents are driving away. The Department of Homeland Security told CNN Wednesday it is reviewing the footage. We are live in Minneapolis with Mayor Jacob Fry. We're now joined by Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara. Obviously, a video like this, which has just emerged, some people are going to see it as in one way, other people are going to see it in another way. Do you think it changes at all? Do you think this video, to you, what does this video say?
I actually haven't yet seen the video, but are we actually making the argument that Alex Pretti should be killed for something that happened like 11 days prior to the shooting itself? No, I think we should be talking about the circumstances that actually led to the killing and what took place. And those circumstances, I mean, you can believe your own two eyes.
I want to read a statement that we just received from
CNN is crazy for this, by the way. They're like, come on, just say.
Down the street, despite posing no threat to anyone, he was violently assaulted by a group of ICE agents. Nothing that happened a full week before could possibly have justified Alex's killing at the hands of ICE on January 24th.
Y'all are almost as stupid as I am. That's saying something. Sorry, we're so dumb sometimes. We still need you. Don't get discouraged.
In the streets, from a professional policing
Top posting a subreddit is calling it AI. Should probably clap it. Sure. Well, I mean, I have no control over my subreddit.
At least a number of the videos that we've seen that have been circulated online show a lot of methods that are questionable and tactics that just do not appear safe.
All right, I'm going to get back to the audience. We have a grandmom of 20. Yes, you heard that right. Yeah. Amazing the work that you have had to do in your life.
As a retired police officer, the spouse of a retired police officer, the granddaughter of a retired police chief, a daughter of a police officer, mother of children in law enforcement, I fear the president is putting local law enforcement in situations that force them to choose between a career that they love or having to defend the chaos the president is sending to our cities. Have you talked to your officers?
Yeah. Yes. First off, thank you for your service, and thank you for the service of all of your family members. I've tried to be present as much as possible with our officers, both out on the street and in the stations.
Bro, you got the cop right there. You got King Thumb. Just be like, why won't you prosecute? Why won't you, why won't you arrest ICE agents? Come on. Can we arrest ICE agents, please? That would be very nice if you would arrest some ICE agents. I would like a side of arresting ICE agents, please. Wow, this is a beautiful day. It's only minus 10 degrees today. Probably the warmest day in Minneapolis. Perfect day to arrest ICE agents. That type of stuff. I think that's the type of stuff that you should be saying at this town hall.
And it's been very, very difficult, not just for them, but for the family members that are at home when they're getting called in, when they're getting held over. It's bringing everyone, our residents, it's bringing all of these emotions from all of this trauma back up to the forefront.
This dude is just exploding out of his uniform. Yeah, he is the most. Look at him, bro. He is so thumb-coated. It is crazy. He's going into the evidence pile for some steroids that they seized from a shipment,
They want to be the change in this department, set an example for the rest of the country to follow. Those officers that have stuck around after 2020.
It's about to be an incident when the top button pops off and just decapitates one of these old ladies at the town hall. My man is just sitting there like a 10-pound hot dog in a 5-pound bag.
As far as I know, nobody has come to me and said, we got to get that baker out of here. The breads and the cakes are just a bridge too far. Nobody's saying that. That guy has made our city a better place. And so why not have the focus on actual criminals? If that were the case, then again, stop making this about immigration.
Do you think they're trying to meet a quota? I mean, Stephen Miller had talked about 3,000 wanting to get 3,000
What do you mean? Do you think that's
every day?
Brother, your own news broadcast has reported on the quotas. Like, that's not a question that's up for speculation.
Is that it is making our city less safe. What I can tell you is that, yes, it has caused chaos on our streets.
If it is the case that there is quotas, I think we learned a long time ago in this country that policing for quotas is not a good thing, and that bad things happen because of it.
I'm curious, Chief, are your officers, and a lot of people who are in the streets that Saturday, are your officers there to protect protesters from DHS officers or to protect DHS officers from the protesters?
So this has been a question that comes up repeatedly, and it's one that we get accusations all the time. I know everyone sees things through one political filter or another. The reality is the responsibility of the Minneapolis Police Department is to keep the streets and the people in this city safe, period. So what has been happening over and over and over again, once a situation deteriorates where there's a public safety threat, where there is actual violence, threats of violence, or property damage, we insert ourselves into that chaos like we would in any other situation where those types of things are happening. And we try and slow things down and de-escalate and keep the peace.
I just want to say, is DHS making your officers more unsafe with some of the actions that they have?
All of these resulting actions and everything that has happened very clearly has had a dramatic impact and a toll on our officers. There's no question about it. But I want to finish, if I may, your original question. Even when we show up, where there's hotels being damaged, and we try and stop that and make arrests, people then view that
Not the hotels.
Oh, well, you're protecting the ICE agents in the hotel.
Yes, they are.
No, we're protecting literally everyone.
There's a question
Yes,
for
you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are literally protecting the ICE agents in the hotel. You're protecting them from going to sleep, from stopping them from going to sleep.
All right, we are going to take a break real quick here. And when we return, we're going to be joined by 3 Minnesota
Republicans. Oh, great. Democratic Party machine is now working to create the justification for caving to Trump on the ICE issue. A few days ago, I warned about the tycoon-funded Searchlight Institute run by former Fetterman staffers have been deriding ICE critics. Now we get this update from the Senate. The influential new think tank seeks to push the Democratic Party towards broadly popular positions, regardless of ideology. In the case of ICE, Jenelson writes, Adam Jenelson is Searchlight. He is the John Fetterman caretaker. Anyway, Democrats usually leverage the demand common sense reforms to ICE that have been backing that have the backing of broad bipartisan majorities of Americans. Jenelson writes in the memo, which came across the desk of aide Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer Tuesday and continued to make the rounds among Senate Democrats. Oh my Lord, dude. Dude, we're never getting anything. It's so hard not to be pessimistic, man. I'm sorry. Democrats are 100% signaling that they are going to do reforms on ICE, okay? They're not going to try to defund ICE. They're not going to try to take away the previous funding hike, the spending hike that they wrote in the law. They're not going to do any of that shit, and they're literally farming you right now. They're telling you that they're not going to do it.
Literally all the people involved. That's what we're seeing, is that there is not a desire to lower the temperature. It's immediately tit for tat. We're not going to work together. And I was really hopeful when I heard Tom Homan was appointed there, moving out fresh blood. But what we're seeing is
I was so
more
hopeful
of the same,
that the other
that is not.
We swapped out the manlet freak for
we need
Jabba
all
the Hutt
leaders to stop with the negativity and
stop with the negativity, guys. The state of Republicans, dude.
Now, this is for you, Representative Engen. I want to bring in Rebecca Whiting. She is from Bemidji, Minnesota. Did I get that right, y'all?
Yes.
Okay. Thank goodness. She is a farmer and the chair of the Libertarian Party of Minnesota. She's also an Iraq War Army veteran. Thank you for your service, Rebecca. What is your question?
Okay, so my question is, do you believe protesters have the right to the Second Amendment? Would I, as an Army veteran, still be able to have access to my Second Amendment if I attended a protest?
Well, first off, I want to say thank you for your service. We're all owing you a great debt. And, you know, when it comes to protests versus riots, that's a different thing. Of course you have a legal right to carry. But when you are trying to get in the way of law enforcement officers, when it is your stated goal to get in the way of lawful arrests of some of the most heinous amongst us, when it comes to the 1,600 people on a detainer list that Governor Walz refused to give over, that's a whole different...
The Department of Corrections cooperates with the federal mandate. Any criminal that you are actually giving to ICE is coming from prison. Okay? Shut the
chaos, it's destruction, it's calamity, and it was completely avoidable. Had Tim Walz just given over that detainer list.
I cannot believe Omar has to deal with these fucking losers, bro. Holy shit. These guys are such dildos.
I want to address a question to you, Senator Holmstrom. President Donald Trump said yesterday that Alex Pretti, quote, shouldn't have been carrying a gun, and that you can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. Do you agree with him?
So I along with 200 or plus thousand Minnesotans have a concealed carry permit. I believe that you have an absolute right to carry a firearm in the streets of Minnesota. Again, there's a lawful way to do it. And if you have a responsibility as a gun owner and as a carry holder to be judicious about when and where you carry your firearm. I've been to protests. I don't carry there because it's a dangerous situation. I'm not saying that that's lawful. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying that you have a responsibility to be judicious in how you choose to exercise that right and all of your rights. So no, I guess I disagree with the president on that. You certainly have a right to bring a firearm. That right ends when you choose to physically engage with law enforcement. You no longer have a right to carry in that situation.
But what if
once
you're just using your cell phone?
Once you take unlawful actions, you've lost that right.
What if you're just using your cell phone to record them?
Yeah. So, and again, when you look at the totality of that circumstance, right? This isn't somebody that was sitting on a sidewalk who was detached and disengaged and recording. This is somebody who was in the street who was struggling. That was that was a rough thing to watch, and my heart goes out to that family. It really does. But again, when it comes to
I'm a Republican.
the constitutional right to
So
carry
I
a
have to
firearm,
dick eat Donald
absolutely
Trump.
He had it. Absolutely, he was allowed to bring it. I don't think that in that situation, I would have made that choice. In fact, I know I wouldn't have. And I certainly wouldn't
I'm
have
a pussy.
in a tussle
I would
with
never
law
save
enforcement.
another woman from being shoved into the ground
I think that
by an
it's gonna be a
unaccountable
really,
Nazi.
interesting investigation. I don't think that it's up to me. I don't presume to be the...
Do these guys all get the same JD guy liner? Is that what it is? What's going on here?
And then we'll be able to
Did
make
they
that
build these
determination.
guys in the same factory? Is this another Peter Thiel blood boy? What's going on?
The state or local governments.
Yeah, there's a lot of agencies in the federal government. There's millions of people that work for the federal government. I believe that they can conduct a proper investigation.
I want to go to our audience.
I can't stand these
Question
motherfuckers, bro.
Representative
Oh
West.
my
This
God.
is, Shel DeCondo. She's an educator and a mom from St. Paul. Shel?
Good luck defending
Hi.
this.
What specific actions will you
Oh,
support
ICE
in
drive
the
by
next
pepper sprays people
legislative
standing on the
session
sidewalk
to
after
address
this
both
vehicle
the
passed by
immediate
them?
fallout from these deadly encounters and the broader question of how Minnesota navigates federal immigration enforcement while safeguarding civil liberties?
One difficult thing about this whole situation
Okay.
is the federal government and the
She's
state
giving.
government and all the ways they interact.
This is
Generally, the federal
conflicting.
government gets to
Okay.
run over the state in almost every circumstance.
There's a lot going on with this outfit. Hat's cool, but then I'm looking at the bottom.
Every single law, every time that contradicts, the federal government has preeminence. So we're really limited in what we can do. I do
Get
not
it
have
out of your
anything
system
specific,
before
I'm
Black
sorry,
History
but
Month.
I'm happy to have any discussion.
She's a
that's the
teacher,
fun part of being
chill.
in the legislature is you get to cover every topic
I'm just
imaginable.
saying.
Some of them are
She
not
came in and said both sides.
It is always open.
She came in and said both sides with that outfit.
Let me ask you, Representative West, you've dismissed the idea of deporting every undocumented immigrant in Minnesota. The administration, they have not put a number on how many people they want to deport here in Minneapolis or in Minnesota. Stephen Miller has talked about deporting 3,000 people
She's a
nationwide
Sherman
every day.
supporter, but admires Robert E.
Do you have any
Lee.
idea when this will end in Minnesota? When do you want the administration to come out with a number of, when is enough?
Well, I literally have no power over it, so my opinion honestly doesn't matter that much, but I'll give it to you since you asked, is the actually deporting every single illegal immigrant is fundamentally an impossible thing. And
These
especially
guys
since
are
Congress
Republican
dragged their feet
state
on immigration reform.
congresspersons.
You've been covering it in your many years here. Yeah, they've let this whole system become a total disaster. Securing the border was always the first step in that. Now we have to look at, well, what do we do with everybody we have now? And especially given the demographic structure, it would be economic suicide to deport every single illegal immigrant in the country. But we certainly shouldn't be keeping them in our prisons or keeping them in our jails just because the state wants to exert, like, we don't want to cooperate with the Fed. We can free up space in our prisons and move in the, start dealing with the number of illegal immigrants we have. And then we need the Congress, not us, needs to find a way to get us beyond that. Now, that's a complicated question, but we certainly need to be deporting illegal immigrants who have committed crimes, 100%. And to me, that's the obvious solution. You asked the mayor that in the last section. How about everybody focus on that and let's get to work and end this
You would like to see a more, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Would you like to see a more targeted approach here right now? Everybody is saying, well, yeah, we want to go after hardened criminals. Whether that's actually happening here or not, I guess is not.
Anderson, I don't need to jump in here, but you have 1,600
It's not
people
happening.
who
Every hardened criminal that they deported is from prison.
Raids that looked chaotic. And
every
that led
hardened
to
criminal that they've deported, they deported from prison. They were already in prison. They were already in prison.
The administration, though, said that they were initially going after the worst of the worst, quote unquote.
That was their goal.
And
the worst was held back.
Now people are being picked up who are legally here, detained for days, and then let go. And there have been American citizens picked up. Do you think that's what they should be doing?
I think that would not have happened had Governor Walz and other leaders here in the state not made it their stated goal to impede everything that the federal administration does.
Do you think the administration has any role in this? Because I know you're putting the blame on the governor, but...
So a heightened tension or a heightened escalation from the state, where they say they're going to get in the way, that they're going to fight it at every turn, that's been met with equal force from the federal government. Now, do I like it when I hear that Americans have been apprehended based off of skin color, as some have said? No, of course I don't. That's disgusting. We shouldn't be doing that. But when you have a concerted and very calculated effort to impede that same administration at every turn,
to dominate the regular working public.
A woman in Shaka.
I'm so glad that we're spending like $80 billion on some of the most unemployable morons that are just going after people with jobs. I think it was the Chapo take, right? ICE is an agency that gets confidence from some of the most unemployed people who celebrate them going after employed people over and over again. ICE is basically a group of unemployable morons getting fucking hired to go and arrest employed people. What the fuck are we doing?
And if we allow agents to do that, we get to allow law enforcement to do that. We can allow law enforcement to work with their community members and build relationships, because that's what we've been doing in law enforcement the last 10 years. We've been focusing on building good relationships with the community, because that's what we do. So if we create those agreements in Minnesota, and we maybe have to legislate that they have to be part of them, that gives a great opportunity for ICE agents to not have to be here and not be building relationships, and your community police officers, your sheriff's departments, they can be doing this work while they're simultaneously doing all the other work and all the other great things that they're doing in our communities. I think that creates a really positive environment where everyone can wholeheartedly trust the police and feel safe around them. And again, the lack of that.
They previously had the police chief in Jacob Fry. Now they're asking the Republicans.
Minneapolis is not interested in ever working in that capacity.
But they should be getting cooked way harder, in my opinion.
That refusal of our leaders, of Frey and of Walz, to engage and work with federal law enforcement is creating this chaos. Yes. It's creating a dangerous environment where people don't feel safe to go outside, where we have 3,000 agents in Minnesota, and people are worried about that. That would not be happening right now if we just worked with the federal government, as nearly every other state does. We don't have to be prideful and boastful about fighting Tim Walz fighting Trump. Or last night he said he would physically violate the vice president. That's language that really makes people feel unsafe. They feel unsteady when their leaders are talking about getting in fistfights with each other over gravitas. That's not how we lead. That's not how we should legislate, and that's not how we should treat our people.
And the president has certainly had his licks too against those who are in power here. But let me quickly
to that point, actually, I think it's really important to note that this week President Trump met with these leaders, and he came out and he said great things about them. If you read his post, he was very complimentary, and it was repudiated with more insults from the leaders here in Minnesota. The olive branch is constantly extended.
Oh
and it's
no!
away
Trump's feelings are hurt. Is he sick? The fattest Nazis of all time on the streets of Minneapolis.
You're hearing that laughter because people.
Those guys are constituents, you f***ing asshole. What do you mean? God, these people are such pathetic cucks.
We saw.
They're laughing. They're laughing in his face.
Problem. Media is not addressing serious issues. Just in December, the Star Tribune here in Minnesota, our largest newspaper, had a year-end wrap-up where they wrapped up the most important stories of the year. They didn't even touch on the $9 billion worth of fraud in this state, which is honestly my belief and a lot of people's beliefs is the reason that there's so much chaos and that the governor refuses to work is because this is a great distraction from his absolute failure.
If it wasn't for the countless videos from multiple angles showing the moments leading up to and after Alex Pretti's shooting, we may never have known what happened that day. And you may have seen this angle, one of the closest to the incident, filmed through a car windshield. Whoa! Up until now, we had not heard from the young woman behind the camera about what she witnessed that day. Her name is Kayla Schultz. She's coming forward. She sat down with me earlier today. Here's some of what she told me.
He was trying to save the life of that other person.
Take a look.
I am scared of speaking out and having this public, having my face out there and my name. But if I...
He died a hero. He's a good man, and they murdered him, dude.
Shown there.
And now these sons of bitches are running around being like, well, don't you think he deserved to get killed because he broke the
to be
taillight
afraid of them.
11 days
They
prior
want
to his
us to be
assassination.
scared, intimidated into silence. I can lose my safety. I can lose security. They can take everything away from me, but they can't take my voice. And they want us to be intimidated.
They feed off it.
They escalate in every single way if they are not able to use that fear in order to intimidate us into backing down.
So if you're not intimidated, they escalate.
And that's exactly what happened to Alex. He did not let them intimidate him. In fact, he stood up for two women that they were absolutely brutalizing, and that made them mad that they were not able to intimidate him into tucking his tail and leaving.
Your camera is actually the closest camera to that moment of the Border Patrol guy shoving these women onto the sidewalk, but it's the closest, and you have the closest vantage point of them being pepper sprayed.
One moment, there are people being pushed around, there are people being maced right in front of me. The next thing I know, it's gunshots. It's so many gunshots, I couldn't believe it. I really have barely a recollection of the moments immediately after, other than just the feeling of absolute horror and also rage that it escalated like this. So they backed up, and I was sure he was dead.
You're scared, but you're still standing up.
Yes, I think it's so important. Now is not the time to stay silent in this for anyone at all. It's imperative. Things are going to get a lot worse, I think, not only in my city, but around this country as this project expands. And we all need to be courageous. We all need to be a little bit brave. And again, do what we can in order to stand up for our rights.
Well, coming up, we're going to hear from Minnesota's Attorney General Keith Ellison on whether he thinks any federal officers should be held accountable for their actions in Minnesota. We'll be right back.
Did you see Dr. Oz talk about the Armenian mafia fraud in LA? This is going to be the next ethnic cleansing ICE mission. I did see that. I don't think ICE is going to have as easy of a time roaming the streets of Glendale, if I'm being real. And I cannot believe that the Trump administration is so fucking insane that you can just have like a Turkish dude decide to go after an ethnic group in the country, advancing his own personal interests. It is insane to me. It is actually insane to me that this motherfucker is running around in Glendale talking about how Armenians are doing fraud. Yeah, Angus King already folded, said he would accept a clean resolution on DHS funding to avert a partial shutdown and give Congress more time to put restrictions on ICE. Shaheen calls it a reasonable approach. Oh, God, these guys are such fucking pathetic losers, of course. And also, Chris Murphy says, Democrats are right to deny funding to DHS absent changes that stop the lawlessness and inhumanity. Changes that Americans are demanding. Let's talk for a second about what has to change immediately and why it's so important to demand these reforms. Alec Karakatsanis says, this is a speech designed by someone who thinks you're stupid. He's explicitly promising to keep the recently triple budget of the DHS Gestapo if there are reforms that, behind closed doors, their lawyers admit are unenforceable, irrelevant, and even harmful. Adam Johnson wrote about Dems' proposed reforms, which range from superficial to likely unenforceable to actively harmful. The grip billionaire-backed anti-abolish groups have over Washington the conscious, conspicuous absence of any attempt to touch DHS's obscene budget. They are straightforwardly trying to get you on board. They are literally, dude, we talk about how incompetent and feckless the Democrats are, but honestly, this is a moment of competence. You have to also recognize when Democrats are competent, right? They immediately go out and they do messaging bills, right? Or not messaging bills, sorry. They immediately go out and get their third-way neoliberal messaging operations. They float it to Politico and they say, see, the best kind of messaging here is modest reform on ICE. Then they turn around and have backdoor meetings about how they're going to demand certain reforms. This is a moment of competence for the Democratic Party. Do not misunderstand me. It's horrible, and it's feckless, and it's appeasing. Dare I say, it's fascist collaboration. However, they are being competent here. They're getting together, and they're basically trying to cast aside those who have the bravery to say abolish ICE as naysayers, as outsiders. Just remember this. Remember this when they do this for Medicare for All, for example. Remember this if there's any sort of significant movement to demand cutting funds to Israel. When it comes down to collaborating with fascists, Democrats will become incredibly competent overnight. And this is a perfect demonstration of such. They haven't arrested either of the ICE agents. Where's that demand? I mean, there's that too. It's so fucked. Here's a friend of the show, Keith Ellison, talking.
In 3 different cases now, so we had to take that action. So I'm concerned about it, but we're moving but we did something about it, and we're going to continue to do so.
I want you to meet Kevin Brown.
Hi, Kevin.
He's a local business owner here in Minneapolis. Kevin, what's your question?
Attorney General Ellison, do you actually have the names of the individuals who shot Alex Pretti? If not, how can you investigate someone for potential criminal activity if you don't know who they are?
This is an excellent question. And I mean, it really speaks to the fact that it's rather absurd that the names are not public already. I can't imagine I mean, look, I've been a lawyer for 36 years. I've never seen anything like this before. We have heard some reports that the names might exist in a report form. I haven't heard them yet, and I'm confident that we will get those names. But the fact that I don't know them yet is an absurdity and is example of how little cooperation that we're getting. I mean, if you believe that you you used deadly force in a lawful manner, why would you be afraid to disclose that name? You're claiming that you did the right thing. Step up, admit it, and let us all deal with it. It feels like a cover-up, Kevin. And I would never want to say that about our federal government, but over the least past...
You have to remember, he's the Attorney General. He can and can't say certain things. Like, for example, he can't call it a murder. I hope you know that. He is the Attorney General.
Minneapolis. She works.
He literally is not allowed to call it a murder. I just need you to understand, when he uses certain words, the mayor can say whatever the fuck he wants. The governor can say whatever the fuck he wants. He can't say whatever the fuck he wants. He's the Attorney General before you get mad at him.
Minnesota pursue civil or criminal action if federal accountability
He has to do lawyer speak because he is responsible for being the top prosecutor.
Barrier. There's no absolute immunity for a federal agent who commits a crime in Minnesota.
What do you mean? He's the Attorney General. I feel like our brains have been so busted from Kash Patel and Pam Bondi constantly going out and just being like, these guys are all rapist murderers before a court proceeding happens, that you think that you can't think that you can tarnish an ongoing investigation. What the
to debate me on the point?
It will literally compromise him. It's his job.
Wrong. In fact, there's other examples when federal agents have been charged. You think of has anybody heard of the Randy Weaver case? There was a white supremacist named Randy Weaver, and federal agents suspected
he has to be impartial. Only Republicans get to be not impartial.
Ruby
Ridge, and
he brought this up in our conversation too,
and killed his wife. And Idaho pursued charges against that agent, and the case actually was litigated up to the Ninth Circuit, and it was determined that there was no blanket immunity and that this officer would have to stand trial. Now, then there was an election, and the local county attorney said, within my prosecutorial discretion, we're not going to pursue the case. But the fact that you could pursue the case is very clear, and J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller are absolutely wrong on the law.
This is Rob Dorr. He's a defense attorney from Minneapolis, who's also active in local gun rights group. Rob, welcome.
Mr. Attorney General, first, thank you and your team for your strong advocacy, trying to get transparency in the investigation. They did amazing on Monday.
Thank you.
Court. Thank
He's
you.
a part of the problem here. He told you to write a letter, bro.
Stronger gun control measures, including policies that would have banned what Alex Pretti was carrying and limiting the right to public carry. Have federal operations in Minnesota and the shooting of Alex Pretti changed your perspective on these policies?
No, they haven't. but let me be clear on what my views on gun race are. I am a gun owner myself. I enjoy hunting deer, pheasant, turkey. I believe people should have the right to lawfully and safely own
Bro,
guns.
people in people in Minnesota do not play around about hunting, by the way. That was something that I learned. Remember the guy I was talking to that heads care out there?
To save the precious lives of
and he was talking to me about how like he loves hunting. He goes up on a deer stand and shit.
Some common sense restrictions on guns.
They do not play around about hunting out there. It is crazy. It's just people that you would not assume are going out to hunt.
We should have background checks. And as a gun owner, I don't mind any of that.
And he had a lowrider too, which is fucking sick.
But you'll also never hear me say that you should have an unlimited right to possess a gun. I'm sure
it's revolting.
People of goodwill can come together
I wouldn't
to say
it's revolting.
What makes sense. What makes sense. So that's where I stand on these issues. I am powerful. I am effective.
It's so funny when motherfuckers go, "Oh, go vegan, bro." Hunting for your own food is probably closer to veganism than going and purchasing at Walmart. What are you talking about?
Up next, we're going to hear from Minneapolis faith leaders on what is giving them hope during the city's immigration.
The reason why I brought that up is because there's no better proof of complete assimilation to American culture than a Somali dude talking to me about putting on the fucking real tree camo and sitting on a deer stand to go out hunting. Like, that's it. That is like, that's it. You are you are the proof. You are the proof that you come to America and you assimilate no matter what. You keep some of the traditions, you keep some of the culture, but you do objectively become American. That's a Rogan take. It's just the truest take of all time. They hunt in Somalia too. I know, but it's different when you're sitting in a deer stand with a real tree camo, I feel like. Like deer stand is like an objectively American experience in my mind, at least. You know what I mean? Maybe it's because I'm so Turkish. Like people hunt in Turkey too, but it's not like as common as it is in the United States of America. If everyone went hunting, we would make every animal extinct in like a year. Oh my God, vegans, stop chirping. To me, I feel like that's, bro, you've been to a Walmart, they sold rifles for a reason, someplace to get off of school for the first day of the hunting season. Yeah, to me, as someone who only came to the United States of America and has lived here almost half my life now, but basically for me, it's like, that's peak America, okay? You are the most American. When you're hunting, you're the most American. No one is more American than a guy who hunts, especially in a deer stand.